Welcome to some awesome pre-modern action. This is going to be the first round of the Fall Brawl online tournament for the pre-modern autumn era. I am going to be on natural order, reoccurring nightmare opposition deck, and Federico is going to be on the rock. Now, this is my first video. I recorded it, and now I'm going to do some commentary over it. If you like this style, or if you just want to hear the players, let me know in the comments. I would like to keep making more of these videos. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to have the video start. Federico wins the role, so he is going to be on the play. I can fast forward through some of this. Let's jump ahead a little bit. So it looks like Federico is going to keep his hand. I take a quick look at mine, and I believe I am going to keep as well. So let's keep jumping forward. Okay. Oh, nope. I guess I throw it back. Okay, and here we are at the beginning of the first round. He starts off with a treetop village. I'm going to draw my card, look at it, and lead with a Llanowar Waste. This is a painful mana base. Going to go right into a Llanowar Elf. He untaps his treetop village, draws his card. And we are still looking to see what he's going to do. I believe he's going to lead with a Wall of Roots next. At this point, I do not know his deck. I do not know that he is on the rock, so I am thinking Wall of Roots. Well, first I'm thinking after that second forest, I'm in a lot of trouble. This is possibly an Oath deck. I led with a Land of War Waste, and I'm probably just going to lose the game. Thankfully, I see the Wall of Roots, so he might be on a survival deck. I do lay a City of Brass into my own Wall of Blossoms, drawing a card. Again, as you can see, this mana base is extremely painful with that City of Brass coming down. Anytime you run over two colors in Premodern, it's going to be pretty devastating in terms of what your mana base can actually afford to do. That's why I have at least 4 birds and 3 Llanowar Elves in my own deck. And then we have Federico. Let's see what he is going to do. I don't remember off the top of my head. I know. Okay, so he's going to lay a swamp. At this point, I'm looking for possibly, like I said before, maybe a survival. He could now be on rock. The mana base, the more stable mana base is looking toward more of that play pattern of the rock. And then he leads off with a Vendetta. So that's going to destroy my Llanowar Elf. If you're not familiar with what that does, he's going to destroy a non-black card, as I did not know. I rarely see this card that much. Destroy target non-black creature, and then that player who cast it loses life equal to its toughness. So almost like a reverse Swords to Plowshares in the black color wheel. So we're looking to see that did hurt. As a natural order opposition deck, I was really hoping next turn to play my opposition. He didn't know how bad that actually hurt. My mana ramp is super important, especially to keep my life total high. I take a draw, yay, a basic land, so I don't have to take as much damage. Again, taking 1 off that City of Brass. Here comes a Frantic Search. Now this is to help with that reoccurring nightmare, fuel some of those fatties into my yard. I also have some things such as Acorn Harvest. I can pitch Cabal Therapy. We see a Symbiotic Worm and a Gemstone Mine come down. So that's one card that I'm definitely looking to recurring nightmare down the line. I play a Wirewood Herald, and that's going to be able to, when that dies, search my library for an elf. At that point, I'm looking for an arranged hermit, possibly another Wirewood Herald or a Llanowar Elf, depending on the board state. And then I tap the city again, taking another damage, and a Birds of Paradise comes down. Now this is starting to look pretty good for me. I know at this point I have an opposition in my hand, and I have 3 creatures on board. He only has around 5 mana, so that's going to be able to consistently tap a majority of his mana down. But he does play a great threat, one of the best ever made actually. Ravenous Bailoff. Got a soft spot in my heart for that card. Yep, and so I take a draw. I think at this point I decide I can probably soak up an attack or 2 while trying to ramp up my board. I'm going to jam that opposition, taking another damage from that City of Brass. Like I said, I take a lot of damage, and here comes the namesake card of the deck. This card is brutal once you get it going. It can completely lock out your opponent unless they have some kind of instant speed removal or already a board that's too vast to tap down. Um, so he's going to untap. During his upkeep, I'm going to have some effects. I'm going to tap all three of my creatures, and I'm looking for what's going to affect him the most in terms of his mana base. So I'm looking at that Mishra's Factory, that swamp, and then that Treetop Village. As if he has another land, he can still use the wall, tap that forest, and attack with the Treetop Village. So I'm trying to minimize that chance as well. Now from here, he takes the draw. He doesn't have a lot of mana to work with. I did tap him off that only black and all of his man lands. He smashes in for 4. I knew that was going to happen, using my life total as a resource, at least for this part of the game. Looking for that 12. It's hard to find, trust me. Okay, and I don't believe he has any more plays at this point. He doesn't have another land. That's fantastic. But here I'm looking for something, and I believe at this point I did find a deranged hermit, which is probably one of my best draws I could have actually had. I take some more damage. I'm down to 10, only from one swing and my own mana base, but this should seal it up. He doesn't have the naturalize in the main deck, and 5 creatures is going to be able to tap down his entire board state every turn while I can slowly get ahead and play my own things. So we're going to continue this for a little bit. So he's going to untap his lands. I'm going to have those effects. I'm going to tap the 4 squirrels with the deranged hermit, tap down all of his lands, and then tap down both of his creatures just in case I feel like getting frisky next turn and attacking. So he's going to take a draw. At this point, he's looking to try to build out his board state to try to overcome my my amount of creatures based on how many lands and things that he has out that I have to tap down. Again, I'm going to take 2 more. I'm going to go down to 8, taking another gemstone counter off and paying that echo cost for the deranged hermit. Trying to make sure I have as many creatures as possible so I can maintain this lock. I count how many things he has. I determine that it's safe to at least attack with one of the squirrels. So I change the dice. I swing in for 2, start slowly chipping away, and then again I'm going to pass the turn. See, he has 7 permanents. Tap down all 7 of them with the creatures I have out. He takes his draw. Again, it doesn't seem that it's another land, so that's not going to be able to really help him. My mana is free now, and I think here is where things start to get a little bit crazy. I take another point of damage, and here comes a recurring nightmare. Yes, these tournament cards are allowed for any of you that do not know. For a lot of our online tournaments, it is a fun format. I'm going to sacrifice the Wirewood Herald. That triggers first to the recurring nightmare. I'm going to find another deranged hermit. That's what I was talking about earlier on in the game with that Wirewood Herald. And then I'm going to bring back that symbiotic worm into play. At this point, he sees the writing on the wall. He knows that he can't get his board state wide enough while I'm making all of these tokens from probably the symbiotic worm and both of these deranged hermits. Now here's where we go into the board. So my board at this point, I'm looking at what is going to be the big things I'm worried about. So I'm worried about Pernicious Deed, one of the namesake cards of the deck, and then such things such as early card advantage. So I'm looking at that Sylvan Library. That's definitely going to be something that he can abuse early on because I don't have a lot of pressure in the early game. He might be bringing in some Tormod's Crypts to try to cut off some of my graveyard shenanigans with the reoccurring Nightmare. He more than likely is going to have some naturalizes. So the 2 cards in my sideboard that I'm looking at mainly is my own naturalize to destroy his deeds, and then maybe a Sylvan Library, a Tormod's Crypt. I think I did bring in the duresses, and then I took them out, realizing how bad they were in the late game, because this is a game of attrition a lot of times. So I think I just took out 3 Acorn Harvests. They seem pretty weak in this matchup. They're not going to be doing much. He can sweep them pretty easily with Deed, and as we'll see later on, he did bring in an Engineered Plague for some of my smaller guys. So that was definitely, I believe, the right call, bringing in those 3 naturalized, taking out those 3 Acorn Harvests. And let's jump ahead in the coverage. So we're still looking through. We're going to keep fast forwarding. It looks like Federico is going to be on the play. He I believe I took a mulligan this game, and I believe he did as well. So we're going to keep jumping ahead. Some final cuts, and now we are looking at hands. Okay, and so we're going to jump ahead real quick. So he's going to start with a Treetop Village, and I'm going to play a Landlord Waste and Therapy. I believe at this point I named Sylvan Library just as that early drop. He's going to have 2 Blastoderms, 2 Wall of Roots, and a Pernicious Deed. So there's definitely some juicy targets for my Cobalt Therapy if I can flash that back or if I have more in my hand at this point. I know that the Wall of Roots is going to be coming down, and he passes back. So that's at this point, I got to think which is going to be the most hurtful card in his hand. I know the D can possibly come down next turn, depending on what he wants to do. Though those Blastoderms, I have no actual removal in my deck for. I'm just trying to overwhelm my opponent with my Lockdown from Opposition, a giant creature from Natural Order, or just the overwhelming value of Reoccurring Nightmare. So right here, I'm thinking, how do I want to go about this? What do I want to name? Do I want to play a Wirewood Herald, sack it to a Therapy? Do I want to just play a second Therapy? And then I do go for the Wirewood Herald. From here, I can find my own Deranged Hermit, and then I take both 3, like that 3 Blastoderms. Yeah, that's pretty juicy. It's one for 3 right there, and I get to get some value off that Wirewood Herald. That was the card I talked about last time. Not a card seen much in pre-modern decks, but I thought it's a pretty fun card. So he's going to take a draw. He's going to draw that Swamp, which actually was pretty clutch, I believe, at that point. That allowed him to play that Pernicious Deed. Deed's just a constant annoyance, as it can wipe away most of my things when we're looking at uh, a deranged hermit. But so right here, I decide to frantic search. I'm kind of starting to dig. I'm looking for one of my fatties to start a reoccurring nightmare chain with. Um, I think that's what is going to be the best thing to beat him. I know that my opposition plan is pretty much off the table with that deed on the board, so I need to try to find a natural order or a reoccurring nightmare and try to get some more fatties in there. I therapy away that Wall of Roots, so at this point he has a pretty, I believe, an empty hand. Yes, that's his first card drawn. He plays a Forest, and he starts firing up that Treetop Village. That's going to do some work here. So that's going to be a 3/3 with Trample, for those who don't know. And he's going to come crashing in. That mana base starting to hurt along with his Treetop attacks. Not really drawing much. I kind of blew most of my action in the first part of the game. All I have is that Deranged Hermit and some lands, I believe, in my hand at this point. And he again is going to draw another land, fire up that Treetop, and here is where that land really shines in situations where that attrition comes down to, hey, who has the most man lands on the board. Um, Taking a draw. Uh, I know I'm going to be able to play that Deranged Hermit now, so hopefully this gives me a glimmer of hope, but that deed is still on the board, so I'm still worried about it. He can just pay 5 right there, and then all he loses is that Wall of Roots. But compared to the 4 Squirrels and the Deranged Hermit, that's not an awful trade. So let's see what he is doing at this point. He's probably deciding, does he want to just kill all the Squirrels? Does he want to kill the Deranged Hermit in general? He could fire. He could just remove the tokens, fire up that Treetop Village, and start coming in for 3. I mean, at that point, I just have the Deranged Hermit. I'm really not too much inclined to keep it around, so I would probably block. Don't really want to pay the Echo. Really looking for something else that's going to put me ahead in this game. And then I'm also worried about what he can draw, as his past couple were some extra lands. Though we're about neutral in that state. Still looking forward. I'm going to jump ahead real quick, try to get some more action. Let's see what he's doing. He taps 5. He plays his. He popped the deed. Sorry about that. So he popped the deed, and then I didn't do much, and he played his own Deranged Hermit then. So he popped it for 0. And then I let my guy go, and I see the writing on the wall. I'm already at 9 from the Treetop Beats, and he takes game 2 with his own deranged hermit and Treetop Village going to kill me the next turn. I don't make any changes to the sideboard, so let's jump ahead in the action. Okay. And I take a mulligan to 6. Or no, he does. Looks like. I'm going to be able to play. I'm going to lead Landward Waste. That takes me down, and Birds of Paradise to lead the first game off, or game 3. Let's see what Federico has going on his side. And he leads with a Landward Waste into, I believe it's a Vendetta again. He knows how much my mana base hurts me, and that destruction of that birds early is definitely going to hinder some of my game plan of trying to get ahead with opposition and the mana acceleration. So he goes down to 18. I'm going to follow him, and I'm going to go for a therapy. I think at this point I do say Pernicious Deed, as I see that being one of the worst cards for me. His hand isn't bad. Not the best. Definitely a little bit slower. He's got a naturalized deranged hermit, 2 forests, and a factory. And I just say screw it and play another bird. I'm not going to flash it back. None of that stuff is going to affect me quite yet. He's going to take a draw, lays down the factory, and I believe at this point he's just going to pass the turn. Yep. So I'm gonna take a draw, untap those Landward Waste, looking to try to get ahead here. Tapping Landward Waste and another therapy. I'm gonna go after his actual threat, as I don't have anything where the naturalized is going to hit within my hand, though I know that could possibly be a problem later down the road, which it actually does save him at one point. We're going to see. So here comes a Gemstone Mine, passing the turn back. Not much of anything to do. He fires up that factory again. We're kind of in this attrition battle where nobody's doing much, but his man lands are definitely going to apply some pressure. I don't see a deed anywhere, so I'm just going to use that naturalized to conserve some life and take him down a land as well. I take a draw, and we'll see a Frantic Search. Now again, I'm looking for a natural order would be probably the best draw right here. Recurring Nightmare isn't probably the best. There is a Phantom Neshoba, so Recurring Nightmare would be incredible, though it is not here quite yet. There is the Wirewood Herald. At this point, I probably should have sacked it to get rid of the naturalized, but I go for something else at this point. So I sack the Herald. I think we make a small error during this time. I should search first and then name, but I believe we named and then search. It doesn't have, I don't think, a huge outcome change, though it might have, because here I get a deranged hermit, and then I changed my mind for a Wirewood Herald, so that was kind of a mess up in sequencing for both of us that we didn't catch. I think at this point I said Blastoderm, since that's something I really can't deal with. I go get a second Wirewood Herald, play that, flash that back, take that Bail off, as that's the next closest threat that he can actually cast. So he only has 3 mana, 2 on board, 1 in the hand. So he's at least 2 turns off from playing, or 3 turns off from playing that deranged hermit, and hopefully I can find some action and play my own deranged hermit, which I just fetched off that second herald. We see that forest coming down, and then he goes into the tank for a minute. And I'm going to untap, hopefully looking for a land, and I don't believe I find it, and ship things back to him. This is where I'm giving him a chance to get back into the game. He is finding his land drops, so I know next turn if he finds another, that deranged hermit is coming down. Sadly, I have to get rid of that Gemstone Mine, which forces me not to pay the echo cost, but my own deranged hermit is down now, so I can at least start to apply some pressure and maybe get down a opposition in the future if that's something I draw. We ship it to his turn. At this point, we're looking to see what is he actually drawing. his own deranged hermit comes down, because his will beat mine since I lose my actual hermit in the echo upkeep. He goes into a tank for a second, thinking about how he wants to approach this. And let's see, what does he have? Okay, man, he drew the runner in terms of the land. So that's kind of one thing I was afraid of earlier when I therapied the Ravenous Bailoff. There goes my own Deranged Hermit. Here comes down that Wall of Blossoms, really trying to dig, trying to find that reoccurring Nightmare or that Natural Order, something that's going to help me here. Um, I know Natural Order is probably the best draw because he has that Naturalize that we talked about earlier. That is probably going to be a big issue for me. Uh, he pays his own Echo. His guys are pumped up, and then and then he attacks in. I believe I take that first brunt of the damage, trying to hope to maybe get a opposition, some running oppositions. Wow, yeah, and we actually didn't realize, unless it's been errata, that Deranged Hermit is all squirrels get +1/+1. So my squirrels would actually have traded with his. So that's depending if that's been errata, I can always look that up after this game. Man, that could have made some big changes. A lot of those old wordings when we're looking at those, freaking Lords of Atlantis giving all merfolk, a lot of the old slivers, all the slivers are getting the pumped up pluses and abilities. So that's something that I definitely didn't take into consideration. Now he untaps. I lay that opposition, and he's going to try to go to combat. I'm going to tap down his team, not realizing that we could have actually started to trade some of those. And I will tap those down with the opposition at this point. I'm going to fast forward a bit because I know he thinks about it for a minute. And he does decide to naturalize the opposition early, which honestly is probably the best call that card gets really out of hand, especially if I found another Deranged Hermit. It can get really sticky depending on what he was trying to do and play at this point in time. So yeah, he's definitely trying to make that call. Finally pulls the trigger. The opposition is down. Things are not looking good for me. Again, taking a draw, really hoping to find that Natural Order. Trying to find something to help me get out of the situation. His defenses are down in terms of that Naturalize that I know of. And then at the end of my turn, he's actually going to Vendetta my Wall of Roots. Now, it's my Wall of Blossoms. So he's going to take 4 off that. At this point, it's not going to really matter. That's just a beefy blocker that's going to, slow him down as he's looking to kill me. I'm only at 9 life. My dice is the green one the entire time, and his is the red. He's going to take a quick look at my hand and a Verdant Force. Though normally very, very good, would probably be really good in this spot if I could ever cast it, or, get it out one of the other cheaty ways. Help create some blockers, great with opposition. I block 2, I take 2. I'm trying to preserve as much time right now. Time is what we're looking for. Trying to have at least a green creature again for some of those other spells. And here comes the Blastoderm. That's pretty much going to put the nail in the coffin at this point. I'm already at 5. He puts his fading counters on there, and this game is all but wrapped up. I draw a Llanowar Elf, hoping to just fend him off for one more turn. Maybe I have some kind of draw that can get me out of this situation that I put myself into. He has drawn really well. His deck is one of the staples of Premodern, so I knew at some point I'd probably face it. Definitely many ways you can build it. He's got some Deranged Hermits, not all built to play them. Some don't even play Blastoderm, it all depends. I know he was talking about playing a Living Wish version before this, but we both agree that's probably not the best. He's deciding, can he kill me right here if he swings in with the deranged hermit. I think I have where I can at least block with 3 guys and stabilize at 1 life and 1 green creature, hoping to maybe get that reoccurring nightmare or that natural order right now. Praying, blocking the Blastoderm and 2 of the tokens, which we should have traded for all of them by this point now. So things might have gone a little bit differently, but it's all right. This is a fun format, not that big of a deal. He's going to therapy away my Verdant Force, trying to pull any hope from my heart, and I draw you off my coast, and that is the game. Great game, Federico. Rock being one of those cornerstone staples of the format. So if you like this, I'm going to try to do more. If you have any better ways of the setup, how I'm doing it, please let me know if you like this. I can keep doing the commentary, or I can just let the players talk, their plays as they're going. Thank you very much, and I hope you liked.